The best thing about being on a men's team is they remind me of who I am. And when you get lost and you got half a dozen men who you're really tight with that can bring that back to you, there's nothing better.
You're a man living in the modern world in a time when men and manhood are not what they once were. You live life on your own terms. You're self-sufficient. You think for yourself and you march to the beat of your own drum. When life knocks you down, you get back up because in your gut, you know that's what men do. You're a badass and a warrior. And on the days when you forget, we are here to remind you who you really are.
Welcome to the Sovereign Man Podcast, where we aim to make men masculine again. I'm your man, Nicky Ballou, and we have a very special guest for you today, Tim Spellman. Welcome, Spellman.
Thank you so much for having me, Mr. Ballou. I really enjoy what you do, and I'm looking forward to talking to you today.
So, brother, why don't you begin by sharing your backstory?
So my backstory, I grew up in New Jersey. I'm from the States. I grew up in New Jersey and went to grade school there. When I was in sixth grade, my father sold his business and took the family to Europe for a year, which turned into 2 years, which was freaking awesome. We lived in Florence, Italy. I went to the American School of Florence, learned about girls in Florence. It was nice. Moved back to the States and moved up to Massachusetts. My father's family had been from New Jersey, and my mother's family had been from Massachusetts. So we went and lived up there for a while. And then I went away to college and started a career. And I'll get into all of that later. But boy, do I have some good memories of my grandmother and other people that brought me great lessons when I was little.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Keep going.
So I'm going to talk today about karma, gratitude, whatever that topic is. I don't even have good words for it, but I must have been putting things on the wheel since I was like 7, because my memories from about second grade on are just totally pleasant ones. I made a lifetime best friend with a fellow who was within walking distance of my house, even though he's a different school system. He taught me some great lessons in my life. My friend Dwayne, one of them was to never regret anything. And that has echoed throughout my life ever since I was little. My grandmother, Shy, was started volunteering at the local community service center for, I don't know what the right word is, but the local community service center. And she showed me what grownups do to give back. So that was pretty amazing to learn about that. When I was 10, she learned about the suicide of a young teenager that she knew. And she sat me down on her porch and made me promise never to commit suicide. And that has stayed with me all my life. We all think of like ending it from time to time, some seriously, some not. I closed that back door when I was 10. Sure, I think about driving into a bridge when I'm pissed sometimes, but I know I will never do that because I made the promise to my grandma. Living in Florence, Italy was really transformative. We went to the American School of Florence. I learned Italian and French
Nice.
in middle school and had a great time being able to see the Il Duomo, the cathedral in Florence, Italy, from my bedroom. We camped during the summers, and we met a British family who had been hosted by another foreign family. And to pay it forward, they invited us to their home in the Lake District so they could pay it forward. And when my parents got back from that, they invited friends into our home when we were living in Italy to pay it forward. So that's just the idea. That chain of paying forward has had positive echoes all throughout my life. So I'm happy to keep talking. Is this the topic you want to hit?
Yeah, man, please do. It's good.
Okay.
Keep going, man. When the conversation's good, no need to stop. Just roll.
Great. So when I went to choose a major in college, I remember feeling very lucky because I knew exactly what I wanted to study, which was computer programming. Baloo, lucky's not the word. What's the word that you would use if you feel like you've got the right thing, that you're going in the right direction? because there's
I like to
lucky
use the
doesn't
word blessed.
blessed. Yeah, okay. So I felt really blessed, fortunate, whatever that word is, um, that I wound up picking the things that I cared about. Um, when uh, I sat in the stacks at the college that I transferred to and didn't have any friends and picked up a book on medical information systems and decided that's what I wanted my first job to be. And my career goal early on was I wanted to be a proficient computer programmer in 2 years and a proficient systems analyst in 5. And I wound up being a proficient computer programmer in 6 months. And
Wow.
by 2 years, I was a proficient systems analyst. I've never looked back in my 4-decade-long career, but boy, have I had great opportunities. Probably the best place I've ever worked is Fidelity Investments, privately held company, no pressure to hit quarterly goals to make the stock look good, family owned, um, big brokerage house, and one of the best in the world. And I got to be on the data architecture team of the best division of one of the best companies in the world. And oh my goodness, was it great. Previous jobs, I had been pretty much the smartest one in the room. I was an architect early on, a software architect, and just was pretty damn good at it. Taught well by some great teachers. And when I got to Fidelity, I was just another employee. There was nothing special about me. It was so awesome. I learned a ton from being around so many smart people. So those are the threads that I wanted to pull on today. Among other things, I got into doing transformational work in my early 20s. I did a number of different kinds of things. I wound up the one that's meant the most to me is the one that I did when I was 30, which is the Sterling Institute's Sterling Men's Weekend. It's really about being the man you always wanted to be.
Yeah.
I've learned it. I've taught it. Um, and it's been a real staple in my life, learning how to lead. And then right now in my retirement, I'm a leadership trainer. So I teach other men how to lead. Um, let's see what else I wanted to touch on. I
Let's talk
love
about
to
the men's
ski.
weekend. Let's talk about the
Sure.
men's weekend for a while.
Sure.
So, what had you do the weekend? How'd you get introduced to it?
My brother had a men's team that was just phenomenal in their relationship with each other. Um, they talked to each other straight. There was no emotion about it, but they would call each other out on stuff like you wouldn't believe. Like I would say the traditional New Yorker, the stereotypical New Yorker, just like lay it at you flat. And I had never met anyone like that, and I wanted what they had. The relationship those men had with each other was just amazing. Um, so I went on a couple of overnights with his men's team, and he invited me to a registration event. I I said yes to going to the registration event, but I knew I was telling myself, yes, I'm going to register, and I did. Um, just it was really powerful. Uh, I came out of there with the understanding that I really wanted a family. I asked my girlfriend at the time to marry me and have a family with me. She didn't want to do that at all. She didn't want a family. She didn't like the way marriages worked. And I led the way, and we now have two very successful young men in their 20s, and a marriage of 40 years.
That's pretty awesome, dude.
Yep. And one of the things I did was a lot of volunteering around Sterling, and the standards that they use for the volunteering are top notch. It's a world-class organization. They put on transformational workshops for men and for women. And one of the things that I learned out of holding those standards is to be a really excellent employee. My bosses love me because I really know how to be a good employee as well as a good manager. But they like it when I report to them all the time on all the important things that need to be known about. And I've been well trained and I'm good at it. That answer the question?
Yeah. So, why did you stick around so long with the
Um,
Sterling organization?
So it's my community. I started my first volunteer job was doing community service. And over the years, one of the things we used to do is help out with playground builds. Um, the organization that we formed to do that did about 250 playground builds, and I was personally involved in 100, helping lead 150 of them. So it's just a community that we have together. I know men. I have 2,000 men's names in my address book. There are
Wow.
2,000 men who know my name across the continent and into Israel and elsewhere. Um, and so I built a community. I care about it. It's something that works.
Why do you
One of
think
the
community matters to men?
um, the thing about community is it's a place where you can step outside yourself. A thing that I learned from the men's weekend was how important it is to serve something higher than yourself. If you're all about you, let me say, I was all about me when I did my men's weekend. I was a child of the me generation. I wanted to know how to be more attractive and bring on more girls. And I found that living a purpose-driven life is way more valuable, brings way more meaning to my life to have something to live for that's way bigger than me, um, rather than worried about what I look like in the mirror in the morning. So out of that grows community service, uh, com communities of men, communities of women. Um, one of the graduates, a few of the graduates in New England started a charity that gives gifts at the holidays for Christmas and Hanukkah. We arrange for kids that would not otherwise have gifts, children living in shelters or in community medical centers or after school programs that don't have anything else. We find volunteers to give them gifts and give them the specific gifts they want. People love that. People love the idea of going and shopping for another kid. It's completely anonymous, but just think of the joy it brings you to get a gift for somebody else, and to be able to do that at whatever scale you want. So that's community service just lights people up, and I thoroughly enjoy being involved in that kind of work.
So, what made you become a leadership trainer for men? Why is that important to you?
I saw how I took the leadership training course and saw how valuable it was for men. This is a different kind of leadership training than you might think of as a management training. Yeah, we talk about delegation and chain of command and motivation and things like that. But it's really also about being. It's not about the doing as much as it is about the being. How can you be a man that can lead other men? How can you be a man that can find some other man's best? Um, and that's a really powerful way to live your life, is to find that way of being. So I saw some very effective trainers that wanted to do that. And about 15 years ago, 4 of us stepped up to be trained as leadership trainers. And I now run a team of 6 leadership trainers that do that up and down the East Coast.
That's pretty wild, man. That's
Yep.
pretty darn wild.
Yeah,
I've
so
been,
just let me say we've got 2 levels of training. One is that business of being and training men in how to be that leader. But we do also have large numbers of graduates that are organized into men's teams, which organize into tribes. So one of the things that we have evolved over the years is how to teach leaders to lead leaders. And that's more challenging. The being is still important, but there's also some lessons that we've learned over the years that we bring to those men, to show them how to get leaders to bring other men up, and that's been really effective. One of the things about our graduate organizations is we're bringing in new men all the time, and so having a steady program of keeping the knowledge in the organization helps the organizations, each of those tribes, be successful.
Amen. Amen. Justin Sterling, the founder of the Sterling Men's Weekend and the Sterling Institute of Relationship, passed away about a year ago at this time. And I learned a lot from doing this program. And we started Sovereign Man because we believed that a lot of men needed a place where they'd be celebrated, held to account, and challenged to be better men. I believe that the only way to do that is around other men. Too many men in this day and age are on their own. They don't have other men around them. They're frankly isolated and alone, and they feel like shit because of it. It's important to have other men to be around. Men don't even know it, but they crave masculine only spaces.
Oh man, yes. Yeah, you're seeing the smile on my face because we were talking, the leadership training team was talking last week about the men that we have. We are so lucky that we have each other. I have a wife. She loves me. It's great. It's wonderful. But I've got a full team of men that love me and love me in a masculine way. This is not a romantic thing. They deeply care about me. And because we've been together for so many years, they deeply know who I am. Um, One of my friends said that the best thing about being on a men's team is they remind me of who I am. And when you get lost and you got half a dozen men who you're really tight with that can bring that back to you, there's nothing better. It just it's a super place where I get my power, where I get my strength is from those men. So Baloo, you're absolutely right. Men are lonely. They might have a wife. Um, they might have a friend or two, but in terms of having men that can perform that service for them, um, keep them, you know, have something to do with each other that's really not superficial, but really deep and at the life level. That is so key for what we bring each other. That's a masculine love. It's not it's not pretty. We yell at each other. Um, we're we call each other out. We don't put up with any guff, any junk. I don't know. I'm trying to make this family friendly, but I'd use stronger words if it's not family friendly.
No, it's
Uh,
not. It's not family.
so we don't put up with any shit from each other. If a man is handing us bullshit and he doesn't know it, we tell him. We said, I'm going to hold up a mirror to you. You're being full of shit right now. And when we do it enough with each other, we really recognize and trust each other. So having that trust among men is a huge strength for other men. So thank you for what you're doing in that regard. With the work that you're doing, I've met a number of men that are beneficiaries of it, and man, are you making a difference in individual men's lives all the time. Good job.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Yeah.
You know, I've often wondered and asked myself, what happened? What changed in the last 60 odd years in the West that upended hundreds of years of tradition
Hmm.
in male and female roles and understandings of one another's roles? And the answers I was getting weren't satisfying. They just didn't have the ring of truth to them. But back in like the late 2010s, like I think 2017, 2018, something like that. I was on Amazon one day and I came across a book that said Willing Accomplices. Author is a fellow named Kent Clisby. And there's a picture of Vladimir Lenin and I think Karl Marx on the cover of the book. I bought the book, didn't touch it for a while, but then I picked it up and it was slow going at first. But when I got going into it, even though the man was not a great writer, what he had to say was so riveting that I finished it very quickly. And here was the central premise of the book. He said that the reason the West is where it is today in terms of its cultural norms is because back in 1917, the world's first communist government came to power, and that was in Russia when they overthrew the government of the Tsar. And the leader of that government, Vladimir Lenin, had a vision of creating a one world communist government. Hence Marxism, Leninism, right? That was the whole point. Because that wasn't originally, Marxism was not about taking over the whole world originally, but Leninism was. And he had an objective in his mind, but he had something getting in the way of him achieving that objective. And that was the United States of America and the West in general. Because the United States was opposed to all the things that communism was for.
Hmm.
And he said, well, we're going to have to defeat the United States, but we can't do it in a straight up fight. They'll crush us. So the idea he had was to use the society's very openness against itself. And so he found a German communist who was part of his cadre of acolytes. His name was William Unsenberg, and he sent him to the United States with a mission, which was to infiltrate American society and start turning it against itself. So initially they went into schools, they went into academia, basically. They went into the media and storytelling, Hollywood. And they started slowly to recruit people who believed in the progressive ideal, the Marxist ideal, really. And it was a decades-long project, but they started taking American education from being pro-American to anti-American. They started taking American movies from being pro-American to anti-American, and the same with the media, the news media. And 9, 10 decades later, 11 decades later, they've succeeded. But they also then brought in KGB country destabilization specialists. And the idea that one of them had was based on an Italian Marxist sociologist who said the way to bring the Marxist project to a boil fast was to weaken the family. And to do that, you have to weaken men. So feminism was concocted in a Marxist laboratory, and they brought it to women to say, hey, you've been oppressed. Same language of Marxist liberation language, right? Imperialism, you're oppressed, all that crap. And they managed to make enough dissatisfied women to believe it, to start spreading the gospel. And they had allies in the media. And over a period of the last 60 years, they've absolutely ripped the American family asunder. They have weakened men in American society, in North American Western society as a whole. And the whole idea is that if you weaken men and you weaken the family unit, you're weakening society, and then you can take over a country without having to fire a shot because the men are too weak to stand up. And when I read all this, first, it sounds like tinfoil hat territory. But then I looked at what was actually going on in our society. I go, this guy's bang on. That's exactly what's happening. Because why else, out of the blue, would women go, oh my God, patriarchy, they're oppressing us? Never happened before. So my take on our current society is we need men like you and groups like mine and the groups you're involved with to help elevate men. But we also need to teach men why all this happened and what they can do to turn it around and combat it. Because it's going to be a long, hard, slow slog, just like it was for the Marxists to turn our society against itself.
I had not heard that before. I guess the thing that I know to do is to do what you do, the same thing is reach out to men, lift men up, find men who are hurting and help them through it. Because that's the starting point for a lot of this work is if you see another man that's in pain, do something about it. I know a man who asked a friend how he was doing. This is a family friend. And I said, fine. And my teammate went and asked the next question, which is, yeah, I know everybody says that. How are you doing really? And it turned out he was really in pain, had a lot of stuff going on that wasn't working. He was taking it out on his family. And he's been able to get through it with the help of other men. I've met him. I've worked with him. You do the same thing. Reaching out to other men is key to helping those men get through whatever's happened to them, whether it be this collapse of the family, collapse of marriages, or just personal pain that they've gone through. It's so important that we do this work together.
Amen. Amen. God bless you, Mr. Spellman. Really good to have you on the show, my man.
All right, thanks. This has been a ball. I really enjoyed talking to you.
Ditto. And that's a wrap.
Thank you for listening to the Sovereign Man Podcast. If you're ready to take charge of your life and become the man you've always wanted to be, we invite you to join the movement at sovereignman.ca.